Buenas tardes. It's a pleasure to be here. We are living in times of disruptive technologies. Technologies that are so profound that they will change entire industries and oftentimes profoundly change society. Let me give you a couple of examples. In 1909, we went from the horse and buggy to the Model T. Horseless carriages have been around for years before that, but it was the Model T and the mass production line that I think you'll agree, cars have completely changed society. Sometimes with unintended consequences, but you get the idea. It's a very profound change. Let me give you 4 other examples that are more recent. In 1984, we went from DOS operating systems and keystroke operating systems to the Mac, the first computer with a graphical user interface and a mouse. Windows quickly followed that, and I think you'll agree. Computers have moved into the office, moved into home, and have changed our lives and completely changed an industry. 2001, we went away from CD-ROMs to the iPod. And my preview monitors have just gone out again, so if we can get those up and going, but I'll, in the meantime, look back with that. So, with the iPod, the MP3 players have been around for some time, but it's the iPod and the iTunes Store completely changed the music industry. In 2007, this is just 8 short years ago, the iPhone came out, the model for all smartphones today. That's only 8 years ago. And that plus the App Store not only changed the phone and telecommunications industry, but it changed the software distribution industry. And finally, in 2010, this is one where the slower transition with this, but the iPad came out. It's going to take a while to pry paper from our hands. We're so used to it. But it is transforming, disrupting the publications industry as we know it. So the question is, what are the disruptive technologies for our industries, for the exhibition and trade show and venue industries? And that's what I want to focus on today with that. And the 2 I'm going to talk about, I'll briefly hit on social media. It's been talked about quite a bit. But I'm going to highlight what I see are the new trends with this and how that impacts specifically our industry. And then mobile technology, and this is where the real action is. And so let's dive into this. The number 1 trend, these 2 trends, disruptive exhibition and events trends. Social media and engagement are transforming how our events and trade shows are marketed, managed, and experienced. I'm not a huge fan of Rupert Murdoch, the global media tycoon, but I completely am in agreement with his statement here. He says, technology is shifting the power away from the editors, the publishers, the establishment, the immediate elite. It's now the people who are in control. He's talking about social media here, so this could be paraphrased. Social media is shifting the power away from the venues, from the exhibition managers, from the exhibitors. It's now the attendees who are in control. Instead of top-down, it's a bottom-up. It's a very different way of looking at things. And let's explore this a little bit differently. When you think about it, events and trade shows and exhibitions are social. I always said that they were the original social media. And associations such as AMEREF are the original social networking organizations. When used properly, these 2 things should go hand in hand. When you boil meetings down to the most essential element, we bring people together, and that's the goal of social media as well. And they can work very well together. So when you think about it, it becomes a matter of trust. 90% of online consumers trust recommendations from people they know, their colleagues, their friends with this. Only 14% trust advertising. And so there's that trust issue that is a big player in social media. You look over the past few years, there's been explosive growth about social media. I wrote my first article in 2005 when MySpace was the key place with that, and I said if this technology, if it works in, will have a big impact on the meetings industry. And my preview monitors just went out again with this. I think you'll see it has been doing that. So I'm going to do a quick review of some of the different things with this and go through this and some points on each one. First of all, Facebook, 1.54 billion monthly users. This is 1 in 5 people on the planet are using Facebook. This is the new inbox for many people. And it's also a highly mobile platform with that. This, in my opinion, is a must to be considered in any social media campaign. Twitter is a natural one, 307 million monthly users with this. It's very mobile. The Twitter hashtag is imperative with this. Make sure when you're using a Twitter hashtag for your event, you keep it short and memorable. You're competing, you only have 140 characters, and so it should not be long. The perfect one for this event would have been hashtag AMEREF with that, AMEREF with that, or AMEREF 16 with that. And so it's memorable and easy to use, and nobody else is using it. YouTube. 1 billion monthly users with this. These are huge numbers with this. And there's a saying that this picture is worth 1,000 words. A good video can be worth 1,000 pictures. It's far more compelling than a page of text could ever be. And I think that that's where the real power is, as you're seeing that Facebook is incorporating video in their areas. It gets many more clicks with a video link than a picture length or just text with that. It attracts people. It gets people going with that. LinkedIn, 347 million users. Get this one, though. 2.1 million groups on LinkedIn. Every one of you that has a business card, in my opinion, should have a LinkedIn profile. And the real strength of this is finding out people in your interest areas and find out who the influencers are in those interest areas. And so there are so many different groups. If you want to find a group of left-handed meat cutters, you could probably find it on LinkedIn because they're so specific. There are hundreds of events and trade show related groups on LinkedIn that you can tie in and find out who the thought producers are on that. Instagram, 400 million users on Instagram, highly mobile. We'll see that the more mobile it is, the more important it's going to be used at events. And Snapchat as well. Another one that's really starting to pick up. They're tailoring toward events, and so we'll go into some of these with this. What social channels you use? A recent survey of event planners asked, and it goes down to kind of the ones we listed here. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, blogs are some of them with that. And so Facebook is a key player. Twitter is a major player for that. And so, and you start looking at the ones, my preview monitor, I hate to keep bugging you guys in the back, AV guys, it's offset, so I'm only getting half a picture, so if I'd like to look out to the audience, so if you can help with that, I'd appreciate it. With this, 1 billion mobile Facebook users monthly. Twitter, 88% are mobile. Instagram, 300 million monthly users. Instagram is inherently mobile with that. YouTube, half the views on mobile are on mobile devices. 1 billion views daily with this. Snapchat, 6 billion daily video views. It's an inherently a mobile platform with that. And so you start looking at, I think this is really an interesting slide. It's about what are the ones that are popular, what are the social channels that are popular with millennials? And so, and you start seeing that the ones that are really popular are the ones that are most mobile with that. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter down the list with that, the highly mobile ones. And this is the model for events. This is the natural. The more mobile, the more natural it is for events because people are mobile at events with that. And I think that this is going to see, you're going to see this as the paradigm for the future. It's not just going to be millennials with this. These are the channels that are going to really take off. We are entering in a post-PC world. There are more people, far more people accessing the internet and the web on mobile devices now than they are on PCs. And that trend is going to continue. And so as we see this working through, the slant toward mobile is where I see things are going with that. And that's just great with that. Thank you for helping with that. I can live completely with that. Thank you very much. And so let's start going through just a few of these. Facebook. First of all, you have the events page on Facebook. And so if you create an event, you fill in, you add it on the event photo, you fill in all the blanks with that, and instantly you can have a Facebook event page with that if you have a business channel with that. So that's a natural one anyway. When Facebook is the new inbox for many people, that's a good way of going. But this is an example of a Facebook event page with that, sponsored by Eventbrite with that. But the thing that happened about 6 months ago that they've added on is the Facebook call to action. And so these are the different options here, book now, contact us, donate, and so forth. But sign up, register for our event. And so what you're seeing is that there are many registration channels now. Eventbrite is one of them, that you don't have to even go to the event page, the web page. You can sign up right on Facebook with that. But if not, if you don't have a registration company that's doing that yet, and you will, with that, you have an instant call to action on the Facebook page that says, okay, register for our conference, sign up here with this. And so that's a new trend we see it has happened with that. Instagram, for large events, they are optimizing this so that it's not just quick, you can see pictures around certain events with this. So I'll play the video of this.
It appears Snapchat will soon be making its live stories more interactive. The company is adding a new feature to the live video section of its app that allows users to dive into stories they want to see more about. The feature, called Story Explorer, will offer users a closer look at significant events in their city as they happen via the city's live story. When browsing a live story for either city, users will soon see a new Explore tab at the bottom of certain snaps. Swiping up will allow them to see more snaps about the same event. The company says the goal is to allow users to see breaking news and other important moments from more perspectives.
So for large events, you're going to start seeing this work out. They're modifying it toward events. Another example is the Twitter's Moments, and that's also for large events, but they're trying to find ways to gather people in large spaces that are contacting with that. The Twitter hashtag also will do that. But you see the trend here that some of these social media companies are moving toward events because they see that's a marketable place to get people that are all together in the same place to do that. So the more mobile the channel, the social media channel, the more beneficial I think it's going to be used for events with that. You're also seeing the streaming videos with that. Facebook social video, there you see that used widely with that. Far more likely to be clicked on than a straight text with that. Vine is another short recorded video that you can upload with this. But the one that made the debut at the South by Southwest conference this last year, the South by Southwest conference is a technology music conference, and it's where Twitter made its debut. It's where several technologies have made their debut. Well, Meerkat made their debut with this, but it was quickly followed by Periscope, who is owned by Twitter, and these are live streaming devices. And so this is the Apple App of the Year for 2015, and 10 million users by the end of 2015. You're seeing this really pick up with this. And so people in your attendance are going to be wanting to pull out their mobile devices and start streaming live video, which is kind of fun. It just broadens that, but you start thinking what the impact is from a Wi-Fi connectivity standpoint. If everybody's streaming live video, the video Wi-Fi usage is going to explode. And that's one of the things I think you're just going to have to get to as venue managers and so forth, is continued demands on Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has become the lifeblood of event communication. And at the minimum, they should be able to easily tweet and communicate and answer the social media feeds with that and be able to download the app. But the trend is going to be wanting to go for more robust video streaming with this, and this is one example. You're already seeing this starting to happen with that. So, stepping back with that, these are some of the specific social media channels, but this is really changing the nature of many events. One of the things that you see happening are social walls with this, and so this is one example. Cvent, it has a social wall, but there are many of these. They're relatively inexpensive. They're cloud-based. They're easy to connect with. They can bring in your event hashtag. You can bring in the Instagram feed. You can bring in multiple feeds with this. And I'll play a short video about this, and we'll go ahead and roll the video that describes how this is working.
We use Social Wall to replace the signage that we used to order to recognize sponsors and important donors. And then we also use Social Wall to bring in people's social media posts about the event. We used a photo booth at the event and programmed the photo booth in advance with the hashtag that we were promoting, and that way when people chose to tweet the photos, they would also be presented as part of the social wall display. The hashtag has carried on beyond when we used it on site that evening. So it was a lot of fun and dramatically increased the amount of social media action that we got around the event. I'm excited to see how using these products will build momentum for next year. I think that the name recognition in and around the area as well as online will be so much greater moving forward.
And if we could advance to the next slide, perfect. Now, let me make a point about social walls and Twitter streams, particularly with this. As an event or trade show manager, you should be using and promoting your Twitter hashtag well in advance of the event. You should have signs up, encourage people to do it. This is a back channel that keeps people engaged and works with people. It also can significantly broaden the social footprint, the publication footprint, the PR footprint of the event without. From a venue manager standpoint, this is probably the most unadulterated customer advisory group that you can get. If people like the food or they don't like the food, if it's too hot or too cold in the room, they're going to be tweeting about this. And having someone monitor that tweet feed and the Instagram feed, having somebody in charge of that, or at least the show managers having in charge of that so that they can notify the venue managers. But I think smart venue managers are starting to see this as a way of connecting and providing better service to the clients. It's going to be much faster if it's too cold in the room for waiting for somebody to get up and walk down and walk out and find the person in charge to turn it up, for example, with that. You're seeing photo booths coming in. It's Instagram and the one at the bottom, snap, tag, and print with that. It brings out through the Twitter hashtag with this, and there's a whole range of things that you're seeing built into events and trade shows to engage people. So getting back to what I was saying, you're seeing a transformation in events. Instead of top down, it's bottom up, and they call it a mobile social transformation because they're both involved with this. Social media marketing has become mainstream. Most of you are doing that. Social engagement is expected. Mobile is expected, and Wi-Fi is a key component of that. It's the lifeblood of event communications. The exhibit, you think of the exhibit as an experience. The whole idea of the trade show, I believe, is changing. It's in the past, it's been about exhibitor metrics, the amount of square foot sold, those type of things. In the future, it's not going to be about the exhibitor. It's going to, for the trade show to be a success, it's going to be about the attendee experience, the participant experience with that, and how much they're involved and how much they can connect with people. I don't believe that meetings are not going to go away. I think that the way things are, the two reasons why people go to events are networking and education. The thing about education is, although it's very important at events with this, they're getting education in other ways as well. They're getting it through webinars, they're getting it through surfing on the web, through different places with this. So the relative value, though education is important in events, the relative value of networking is increasing with that. And so that's where you can meet lots of people. That's where you can brainstorm and relationship build and network and do things that you can't do very easily online. And so I think that power is going to remain there if people adopt to this change or get used to this change. It's not about the exhibitors, not about the venue. It's going to be about creating a unique experience for attendees coming through. Interactivity is often required. Oftentimes I use an interactive tool in this one with the, I decided with a little bit of the language barrier not to do a social Q&A, but there more and more things. The social networking program this afternoon was a perfect example of different ways of getting people engaged. This is going to increase with that. And so, and in fact, a recent survey of meeting planners asked, is engagement at your events important to you? 91% said yes. Only 5% said no. This is an increasing trend. Also, are you planning to use technology tools to help in increasing engagement? And a very significant percentage said yes with that. There are lots of ways you can do that with that. So the whole concept of meetings is changing. I think even terminology is changing. Instead of attendees, I think the better word is participant. And so social media and the social tools are increasing to provide this different experience at events. So that's the first trend, and it's, as I mentioned, I did kind of a quick review of that one. The one where a lot of the activity is happening is in the second trend, is new mobile technology is transforming events, exhibitions, and society in general. This is Marty Cooper. He's considered to be the father of the cellular phone. He and his team at Motorola in the 70s came up with the idea, and in 1984 in New York City, he made the world's first cellular call. Guess who he called? Someone, do we want to take a guess? His wife, or oftentimes people will say his mother. Actually, he called his competitor and said, hey, guess what I have in my hand? But this is a start. What he's holding is called the Motorola Brick. It cost $9,000 US in today's dollars to buy. It cost $9 a minute to talk on it. It weighed 1 kilo, but that was okay. It only had a 20-minute battery life. You could only hold it up to your ear for about 20 minutes, and you had to put it down. And so that's the start of the revolution right there. I personally have been interested in mobile technology for quite some time. I've been acting as a speaker, consultant, writer for the past 19 years. I gave this presentation to the Convention Industry Council Forum in the year 2000. You can see down at the bottom. It's a little hard to see, but it says the year 2000. This is the actual slide that I gave 16 years ago when mobile phones were one generation. And at that time, I predicted that mobile devices would become widgets, wireless internet devices for geopositioning, e-commerce, and telecommunication. And I still think that is a much better term for it than a mobile phone. At the time, I said, it's going to not only be your telephone, it's going to be your geopositioner, your micropayment system or your mobile wallet, your video camera, your still camera. Back in 2000, the iPod had not been invented yet, so I said it's going to be like your Walkman, your web browser, pager, scheduler, contact manager, email manager, and so forth. The only one that really hasn't come through is a multimedia projector. But you can buy a sleeve for your mobile device, slide it in, and turn it on, and turn your mobile device. It costs $200 in China. Turn your mobile phone into a video projector as well. It also doubles your battery life when it's not in use. You can look it up from Chinese sources, about $200 US. So even that prediction was pretty accurate with that. But today, it's a whole different world. Today, there are more mobile devices than there are people. And of that, a very significant percentage of those are smart devices, smartphones. 2 billion smartphones are out there at the end of this year, is predicted with that. And when you think of the tether to the supercomputers in the sky, we are all carrying around smartphones and supercomputers in our pocket. It's a whole different world. This is a rock concert in the 90s. This is a rock concert today. This is the papal inauguration in 2005 with one little flip phone down in the corner. This was the papal inauguration in 2013. What a change society has gone through in a short period of time. Millennials, they call them mobile natives. They've been around mobile devices, most of their awakened life with that and through teenage years with that. 73% of U.S. teens have smartphones. But it's not just smartphones. Millennials do that, or business travelers. The one research said 90% of business travelers. I think, from my observation, that people come to events, that number is about 100% are carrying around a smartphone with that. It's just even the technology laggards are carrying around mobile devices now. Technology has gotten easy and cheap enough that a toddler or a grandparent can use it. It's a huge disruptive change in society. So what does that mean for events? There are 1.3 million apps out there for both Android and iOS, Apple operating system, the two major ones out there. Most of them are free or very low cost. But how does that narrow down for events? There are many strong players out there with this, and we have one here for Event 2 that provided this app. On my website, I have 300 mobile event app companies out there. So there's a huge number of them out there. These are some of the key players, and I call them Swiss Army knife event guys because They're way more than an event guide. They have a whole range of tools that they can help with that. And so some of the things that they can do, just a few of them: attendee list, speaker profiles, exhibitor profiles, personalized maps and interactive maps. There's networking and scheduling capabilities with that. You have local area information. You have voting. You have survey capabilities. There's a whole range of things in these Swiss Army knife event apps. And you're seeing the use of these growing substantially. An MPI survey, 85% of meeting planners are using or soon will plan to use mobile event apps for their events. This is October in 2014, and that number's come up since then. This is up from 9% in 2011, and a huge explosion in this. And the larger event, the more likely that they're using mobile events. Many of the events that I've been to this year, large events such as the PCMA conference in Vancouver, they didn't have a paper guide. You know, it was all, if you want to know what's happening when in this very large event, it's you open up your app and you find that information there with that. And that's the trend that things are going. But when meeting planners are asked in the same survey, what are the things they like about the mobile event app, session descriptions, session building, speaker profiles, and you go down the list. The major ones here are about eliminating paper. And I think that's great. We aren't not chopping down trees to print out a program that goes out of date the instant it's been printed, because things change so fast around events with that. I think that's a really laudable goal. But my feeling is, I look at this list here, the major things that are coming are not even on the radar screen yet. And that's what I want to talk about for the rest of this program is, what are the things that are coming around the corner that we'll see in these next couple of years, this next year, in some cases, are already here in significant ways, that for many event planners are not even on the radar screen. That will have huge impacts on venues, that will have exhibits, impacts on trade show managers as well. And one of those things are the Internet of Things. What is the Internet of Things? It's the everyday objects having network connectivity, allowing them to send and receive data. I'll go into this in some more detail with that. We're seeing some explosive growth of this in these next few years. Cisco estimates that we will have 100 billion sensors out there that are connected to the internet in some way with this. There are sensors everywhere. And so where are these? For example, they're coming into the smart home. You have smart thermostats. I have a smart thermostat in my home that I can set from my phone with that. You have smart refrigerators, smart scales, even smart toothbrushes that let you know that you're brushing your teeth long enough in the right position with that. So these are all sensors with this. You're seeing this in smart cities and smart roadways. Soon we'll have autonomous cars or self-driving or partially self-driving cars with this. This is all part of this Internet of Things. You're seeing smart power grids and smart cities that are connected in multiple levels of Wi-Fi connectivity throughout the city. You have the parking lots managed. You have the garbage collection. They have monitors in the garbage bins to know when they need to be picked up and when not. Barcelona is a particular example where they have a whole series of bikes that are all connected in this one smart grid here, making for a much more efficient city and a much more friendly place for people to come and stay as well. So I'm going to play this video, but this guy has had a couple many cups of coffee, I think. He's pretty excited about this, speaks pretty fast, but it does describe what the Internet of Things means and where things are going with this.
So one of the next big tech revolutions that everybody's talking about these days is the notion of the Internet of Things. See, now that we are extending intelligent sensors into everything, into the world of everyday objects, all of a sudden these objects are going to be endowed with agency. They're going to be endowed with the ability to give us feedback. The world is going to become intelligent and responsive and going to anticipate our needs. The world is going to feel like an extension of our mindedness. When everything becomes linked with everything else, as Eric Davis used to say, matter becomes mind. David Rose in his new book, Enchanted Objects, essentially says that we're moving back into a world of animism, where objects have actual agency. They actually have a kind of consciousness, and that things almost are enchanted, almost are alive. You know, you walk into a room and the room knows how you like the lighting, and the song that you love starts automatically playing, and the curtains automatically raise, and the computer offers you your favorite snack. I mean, the full flourishing of these technologies promises to essentially blur the distinction between self and world. The entire world will have mind in it. It's how the cognitive philosophers David Chalmers and Andy Clark used to say, we've always been adept at dovetailing our minds to our tools, but when our tools start talking back, the loop will be finished. We will have fully spread our minds out into our universe. This is the Internet of Things.
This is the Internet of Things, and you're starting to see this coming into buildings, convention centers, and hotels, and you can, the way it's working, that you're putting sensors in nearly every aspect of the control center of a convention center, for example. Energy, water, access, security, high-speed internet, the fire and safety, communication, light, elevators, digital TV, and more coming with this. Now at the Monterey Convention Center, the controllers have ability to turn on and control the lights, the temperature control and the lights from an app on their phone, even here in Mexico City with that. So this is happening and coming in substantial ways. I'll play one video about the implications for hotels, but I think it has many implications also for venues and convention centers and so forth as well. The Internet of Things in a hotel situation here, and you see that they're doing lots of social connectivity links in there as well with that. Let's bring it down even further. Okay, what does this mean specifically for events and trade shows? And so what I want to talk about in the rest of the program here are wearable computing, augmented reality, virtual reality, geofencing, beacon technology. And one of the challenges that you have with this is that when you have all these billions of sensors deployed, how do you manage the data? And so I'll end up talking a little bit about that. Then we'll open up if you do have any questions for that as well. One of the hot things out there are location-aware technology. It's geofencing, and one of the hot items with that is a real pusher with that are beacon technology. Beacons, what are they? The easiest way I think to think of the standard one-way beacon is it's like a small digital lighthouse. And so you put it up and it broadcasts this beam out, and when your mobile device comes within range, it does something with that. So it's using Bluetooth low energy. It doesn't take a lot of power on either the mobile device or the device itself with that. And it broadcasts this identifier to it. It enables a smartphone to perform an action when it comes in proximity. And I'll show you a bunch of different ways that's turning out for trade shows. The thing about beacons, why it's significant, I think, there are a few things. First of all, a standard one-way beacon is low cost. It's about $10 US, and they're low maintenance. The battery life on a $10 beacon will last up to a year. If you pay more, $50, it'll last up to 5 years with this. And so, and also you have a tunable range from 1 to 50 meters that you can determine when you want the beacon the mobile phone to interact with it. So it could be quite a distance away or right up close with this. And the key thing, it's available for both iOS or Apple and Android, the two major smartphone operating systems out there. So most modern phones can use beacon technology with that. But there's new things that are coming out with this. There are two other types of beacons. So one are bi-directional beacons. And this is one that I think that may be good fit when this is still very much in its nascent period. It's at very early stages. And so I'm not recommending you go out and install beacons in your venues right now because there's still a lot of stuff to be worked out with that. But bi-directional beacons, they have two-way communication. So there's small data exchange. And so, for example, if somebody in your facility needed help, there's an emergency or something, they could send through this beacon technology, they could send out an alert. Or if somebody in a store, for example, wanted assistance in a certain aisle, you could send out an alert for that. It's small, it doesn't run down your battery, it's still BLE with this, but then you can find out exactly where they are and come and give them help. They can communicate with other beacons. It's called mesh beacons with that. And they have internet connectivity. And the key thing with this is that you can connect with them. You don't have to, for example, if you had a series of beacons throughout a facility or a number of facilities with this, you could control them from one location. And so that's the thing that makes these, they're a little more expensive with that, but I think that this is going to be a way, and they're self-powered, so you don't have to worry about battery life with that. There are different ways with this, but that's new technology coming out. There's a third technology, a third beacon technology I'll talk about in a little bit called wearable beacon technology, and that has some legs as well with that. So I'll play a few examples of this. One is at airports. The Miami airport is one that's putting beacons there. Others that are doing it. I'll play this video. Not all of this technology is in existence right now, but it kind of shows you where things are going for airports.
The airport can turn into a jungle anytime. Unnecessary passenger queue, missing baggage, unheard schedule announcement. Well, almost anything could happen. That's why we came up with QBeacon. With QBeacon, the passenger presence will be recorded starting from their arrival in the airport's check-in area to ensure that every passenger will get their service, and the airlines know who to prioritize. In other words, no more check-in debate. QBeacon also gives you notifications about your flight information, from the maps of the gate location to schedule changes notifications. You can also tag your baggage and belongings so you won't have to worry about losing them anymore. And with QBeacon's Find Me feature, the airlines can find the passenger that fell asleep, got lost in the area, or missed the on-board announcement. In result, QBeacon minimizes the domino effect of flight delay while also increasing the comfort for the passengers. Find out more at www.qbeacon.com. QBeacon makes every passenger a VIP.
And one that, in fact, Carol Wallace mentioned about the San Diego convention. They have trying an experiment with beacon technology, and they have a video on this. I'll play part of this video. I won't play the whole video on this.
We have beacons throughout the common areas. Those are permanent placed, and they will give information, directions, and so forth once you come inside. We have a geofence that is by the railroad trail track, so that once you cross the trail road, you will get an information and welcome offer to come inside. Once you're inside the actual exhibit halls, we have additional beacons that are relevant to that specific convention. Then once you go inside the exhibit halls, now you get relevant information to that specific exhibit, all in one app. Come towards the convention center. The phone will recognize that we're here with a geofence. It will give us a notification that shows me who is in the convention and will give me more details if I'm so desire. So here's now information. Interesting now is that we're looking at the trolley. We're at the trolley, so now I have the trolley map. So now I have information inside one app that showcases which trolley I should take and where I should go, which route I should take to go to the other places in San Diego. So the beacon system here is put in a place where we can trigger, because this is a fairly large area. We want to have about 25 meters. And so we can control this where the trigger is in that distance. Right? So now I have information on my phone that is relevant to the location that I'm at. So my app alerted me that there's an exciting experience right here. This is a wall of downtown San Diego. We are right here at the convention center. This is what the convention center is going to be in a couple of years.
And I won't play, he goes on, I won't play the rest, but I want to mention he's down, they've included the whole downtown gas lamp district with beacons as well, and it's a really interesting experiment about how mobile technology and beacon technology can be used in convention centers. The Boston Convention and Exhibition Center is another one that has deployed many beacons there as well, and so you're starting to see these come into facilities. Now I'm going to show you some exact how is this working out for events? And I'm going to show you some actual screenshots of actual deployments. These are provided by Double Dutch and EventBase are the two companies. One thing I should have mentioned at the start, I'm an independent analyst. I've never made a cent of sale on any events technology product. And so when I mention them, they have good online examples with that. It's not an endorsement. I'm not making any money on this, but it's about sharing good ideas, essentially. But these are some of the ways that they're being used for events. But let's go down to a little more specifics. To give directions. In this case, it says, "Welcome to New York. Please check your bag in at the front desk before the session starts at 1 p.m. The person has the mobile event app loaded, and he gets the notification as he enters into hotel, or you can even have this as they land at the airport as well. Some information there with a beacon deployed there. As you walk into the event facility, this registration is now open. Please turn left at the bottom of the escalators. Another one for networking. In this case, I know it's hard to see in the back, but this is at the South by Southwest conference. This past year, they had more than 1,000 beacons deployed in more than 60 venues in Austin, Texas with this. This one is for Lego users, and so they connect people with a like interest. But another one that they did this year, this most recent one, is that you could put in your interest areas. And so in this case, if you're interested in tech and engineering and web and software, you can see who's around you, who's within the immediate vicinity of you that have the same interests. One good contact at an event can oftentimes pay for that entire trip. And if you can use technology to bring people together of like interests, that's a real powerful thing. It's a real benefit to attendees, I think. You could ask the question, what's happening near me? This is South by Southwest again, and these are some of the 60 venues with it, and they, not only the ones that are nearby you, but they tell how many people are in each of those venues with us. See what's happening with that. In this case, to solicit feedback, and there are many mobile event apps that have a polling capability into it, but usually the way they do it is say, okay, everybody open up your mobile event app, and go to find your session with this, and now scroll down and find where the survey is or the poll. In this case, beacons know exactly who is in the meeting room. So you can streamline all that and just send people a pop-up window. And in this case, want to make a difference, and you send this, and you have this poll instantly that pops up right in front of you. You can respond to it. You see it on your mobile device, and you also see it on the screen as well. So it streamlines polling capabilities. You can encourage actions. In this case, start a head count. And you do a head count with this. And you see there are 42 people checked into the meeting room here, but there's 65 people near the session that haven't checked in. So let's do a select on those 65. And then you send a reminder, and the reminder in this case, there are the people, and then you send that reminder. This is a reminder to check into this event that's happening, in the room next to you with that. So you can do that if you want. Also to generate heat maps. This is extremely valuable information for a show marketer, particularly, to find out where the hot areas in an exhibit hall are and where the ones that are not, and what the crowd flow is through this. They used to hire people to stand in the rafters to count people as they come into it because this is such valuable information. Now you can generate this in real time and see what the flow through the exhibit hall or through other parts of the facility are. Queue management. We'll see queue management in a minute on this as well. And so the last one in this series here, I want to give you with a heavy dose of caution. and I'll explain why in a second with this. This one is to promote major sponsors. This one, you're steps away from Focus Media Group. Stop by the booth 340, and you click on that. That's a pop-up window, and it gives you information about the sponsor and the web links and their phone number and all that type of stuff with this. But what would you do? I could see show marketers rubbing their hands and, oh man, we can make all this money sending out these notices to the people, attendees coming to it. But what would you do if you walked into an exhibit hall and you got 50 pop-up windows from all the exhibitors around you? What would you do? Yeah, you would either turn off your Bluetooth or uninstall the app. It cannot be perceived as a spamming device. And if it is, people are not going to use it. It must be perceived as direct, immediate value to the participant, to the attendee, if beacon technology is going to work in these cases. And if not, people are going to, they can't be perceived as a simple tracking device, because it is a tracking device, or a spamming device. It's not going to work. So you have to use this with great caution. Be very careful about the pop-up windows that you send out here, or people are going to get tired of them. And so let's go through some of the list of how these are carrying out for events. Scavenger hunts and gamification. The Consumer Electronics Show, the world's largest electronics show, happens every year in Las Vegas. It's in 7 major halls, and the show managers wanted people to kind of go through all the halls, and so they developed a game. If you went into the hall, the beacon would recognize you, and in the app, you'd automatically get a badge. You get all 7 badges, and you get a prize. And so that increased participation, increased the flow through it, and everybody was happy with that. Welcome and alert notifications, we saw that. As you come into the hotel or even to the airport, you can be welcomed and alerted to that. Wayfinding and map location services to guide you through a large convention facility or through an exhibit hall. This technology can do that. Automated check-in and badge printing are capable. Lead exchange and tracking are capable with this technology. Phones can act as beacons as well, and they can exchange information back and forth using the app when it uses beacon technology to recognize each other. Exhibit booth dwell times. The example, if you stood in front of an exhibit booth for 15 minutes, you're probably more interested in that product than if you're walking by. And so beacon technology can measure exactly how long you stayed in that booth, and that's very valuable information to the exhibitors, but it could be very valuable information to the attendee as well, who wants to know, okay, what was my path through the exhibit hall? Who did I visit? How much time did I spend in each one? You can get a report giving that information to the attendee as well. So it's two-way with that. Networking and people finding. We saw that with the event app. Queue management, I'll show you that in the next quick series with that. And automated continuing education unit tracking. This is very important for some sectors, medical, pharmaceutical, financial services that require continuing education, and so they can track when people come in the room and when they go out of the room automatically. And then what's happening near me notifications, and then finally ticketing and access control. All these things are potentials with beacon technology. And this is it's generated a new term. It's called crowd shaping, using data generated by attendees to adjust an event, often in real time. And I'll give you some examples using beacon and other technologies. The North American International Auto Show was using beacon technology and NFC and gamification. In this case, it knows where you are. If you walk up to the one car here, it knows you're standing in front of the car. You get a pop-up notification with a virtual reality tour. There's a game that you can be involved. It's location-aware technology that plays to exactly what you are interested in based on where you're standing. The Cisco Global Sales Experience. This is 18,000 people in 2 major hotels about 3 blocks away from each other in Las Vegas, the MGM Grand and the Mandalay Bay. And they're moving people back and forth all the time. They're using beacon technology to know where people are, where they're standing in line, and then they send reinforcements, buses and so forth, they're based on it. They also use this for the food lines. So if the people are standing there and they're not moving, that's where they send the reinforcements for more food or more help. Same with registration lines. So queue management is one of those things beacon technology can handle as well. So that's beacon technology and location-aware technology. Another hot trend is wearable computing, and it's miniature electronic devices worn under, with, or on top of clothing. There's a whole range of them, and I'm going to go through some of these in more detail. People, when you're talking about wearables, oftentimes think of Google Glass, the 1-ounce multimedia computer that you wear in your face, and many people thought that was too geeky, and it hasn't really, they've backed off on their sales. They're not selling Google Glass, Google's not selling Google Glass now, but they're using this technology, for example, in one case, enabling surgeons to see in this augmented reality what's cancerous and what's not in real time so that they can be more accurate in their surgeries with that. So I predict that we're going to see Google Glass come back. It's not going to be as obtrusive of a form with this, but we're going to see this come back in a less obtrusive form. But there are many other wearables out there. NFC rings, near-field communication rings. It's passive. It requires no battery. You don't have to, you just put it on, and you can do, in this case, you're opening up a door or opening up an app, or you can exchange contact information, or you can exchange Bitcoin information for that. It has a public and a private key with this, so you can have secure information in it and then open information as well. So you may see this come into it. Smart bracelets and watches. I have my Apple Watch. I love the way it communicates and how seamlessly it works in with that. And so actually, you see this last summer, you saw the first event app by Quick Mobile that was targeted specifically toward the Apple Watch. You're going to see it's going to take a while for this to take off because not everybody's wearing one right now. The percentage is doing that, but as people increase using wearables, you're going to see this coming in. I'm going to play a couple of, we're speaking about wearables and either bracelets or lanyards. There are a couple of companies that are moving in, actually more than that, but I'm going to highlight two. The first one is Looped, and I'll play the video on this and I'll come back with this.
That's when I met Looped. Looped is a smart device that makes corporate conferences that much more manageable with my busy schedule. Simply put, it's a two-way beacon that connects me with everyone else. You know what just happened there? We just exchanged contact information. It's that simple.
And actually, it's not that simple with that. It's actually, you have an app with that and you develop it, and so you can determine who you opt in, and you can determine who you want to exchange lead with, if anybody as well. So there's a public disclosure and ability to opt out with that using the app with that. But that's powerful technology. This next one, it's LIGO by LimeFi, also takes us to a whole nother level with this. And so we'll play the video on this one as well.
LIGO is a first-in-the-market wearable mobile technology solution designed to help conference attendees make meaningful connections at events. LIGO combines the best of social networking with the face-to-face engagement of live events. The solution is one part mobile app and one part wearable tech that flashes when at close proximity to others with similar matchmaking preferences. The flashing device serves as an easily identifiable alert, and also as an icebreaker that keeps attendees engaged with the live event. The mobile app can be used to enhance the experience by showing LinkedIn profiles, activity history, and more. Attendees have access to their own personal web account. Through the web account, attendees are offered access to a timeline of various interactions and connections made at the event. With LIGO, event producers receive a profile where they can access attendee lists and event statistics at any given time. LIGO and its applications are fully customizable to the event. For instance, a sponsor's logo can be displayed on the device and in application to help further brand awareness. Sponsors, exhibitors, and event organizers have the choice to send messages targeted towards specific groups of attendees at predefined times. With our wireless and touchless management system, you'll never miss a lead. You'll know who visited your booth and for how long, as well as their contact information. LIGO is the first solution for professional events, which brings together a unique combination of wearable technology and mobile applications. LIGO creates an environment that is much more productive and meaningful to event attendees. Live, let go, and LIGO.
And
Brought to
you
you
can
by
see that
Wi-Fi.
this technology, this is more expensive than the one-way beacons with it. It starts about $3 per person, but you're seeing major advances. Experian, one of the largest registration companies and meetings management, event management companies in the United States, has just released their EventBit product, which is a wearable beacon, and they've really emphasized the benefit to attendees. In fact, they give people health monitoring, how many miles they've walked through the exhibit hall on a certain day, and their whole experience of who they've met during the course of the day as well. So that's some of the aspects of wearables with that. Another bracelet technology I want to talk about is C-Cray. This technology, although it appears, I'll play the video, it appears like it's in a reality. It's not yet. They're still seeking funding, and I have some questions about if it will ever be a reality. But I think it's kind of fun to watch what the potential is. Technology is doubling every year. By the end of this decade, there'll be 32 doublings of technology. So, in the next few years, anything's just about possible. But I'll play this video. It's a French company called C-Cray. And they have a ton of technology crammed into this device. The challenge that they're going to have is having a pico projector, having battery life powerful enough to last long enough to power a pico projector that's going to be able to contrast to the sun. This is going to be a big challenge, but if they can work this out, I want one of these. I'll be the first in line if they can work this out because it's cool technology. Some other wearables. You have smart clothing coming. You have smart earbuds. And for your real geeks out there, you could have implantable chips out there as well. So that's in fact, a person just happened last month in the Netherlands using an implantable chip. He's able to go through airport registration and passage without a boarding pass or anything. He uses his implantable chip to do it. And then looking down, as I mentioned, technology is doubling every year. In these next few years, it would be possible, instead of a Google Glass, to have a Google contact lens. And so that's where things are going with this. What does it mean for events? Mini teleprompter for speakers, face recognition and networking, lead exchange capabilities, continuing education unit tracking, access control, note-taking, crowd flow and crowd excitement measurement. The last thing before we end, I want to talk about virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality is immersive multimedia, and augmented reality is a view of the real world supplanted by computer-generated input. It's oftentimes video or sound, graphics, GPS. But this is going to be a hot area. For example, Facebook invested 2 years ago $2 billion on Oculus Rift, and you're going to see finally started to see this first quarter these new Oculus Rift goggles coming out, very high quality with that. But all the other major companies, Samsung, Microsoft, Google, have invested billions of dollars in these last couple of years in virtual or augmented reality. And we're going to see the fruits of this coming out to us in this next couple of years. A lot of it's not here yet, but it's going to be right around the corner. But one example that he's hearing right now is the Google Cardboard product. They have worked with GoPro to make a 360-degree camera array to do the 360-degree camera run. They have Google Jump, the software, and they have Google Cardboard. Now, this costs about $10 US that can convert your large format mobile phone into a virtual reality goggle headset. And then this will be distributed on YouTube. And I've tried this out. In fact, I've seen at exhibits they're starting to give away these things. And it's pretty cool technology. The resolution is not real high, but it's still very cool technology at virtually no cost that's coming to us. As this develops, this is going to be the closest thing to the Star Trek holodeck that we've seen. This has big impacts. For example, you can imagine a site inspection, a venue site inspection, where you put on the goggles and you're there, like the holodeck, instead of watching it on a flat screen with that. You're starting to see this. I speak every year at the exhibitors show, and I've seen Oculus Rift goggles, the older versions, in the exhibit booths to engage people. But soon you're may not have to ship your 2-ton huge piece of equipment to show how it works when people could sit down and experience this in a very similar manner using virtual reality with that. So this is going to impact trade shows and events and exhibits with that. HoloLens is another one that Microsoft is giving, and this is going to be coming out in the first half of this year. I'll play the video on this.
What if we could go beyond the screen, where your digital world is blended with your real world? Now we can. This is the world with holograms. What will they enable us to do? New ways to visualize our work.
I have an idea for the fuel tank.
New ways to share ideas with each other.
How are things going your end?
I just put the images in OneDrive.
Perfect.
More immersive ways to play. New ways to teach and learn.
So put the new trap in the place of the old one.
Now what?
And tighten here and here.
New ways to collaborate and explore the places we've never been.
Look at this formation. Let's take a closer look.
And new ways to create the things we imagine. Because when you change the way you see the world, you can change the world you see.
Isn't this a cool time to be alive right now? I mean, this is amazing technology that's coming right to us right now. I mean, these next few years, the rate of change is accelerating, and these things are coming through. The ability for us to collaborate and work together and connect in remote locations, it's really cool technology that's happening with this. Mobile event apps are another one. We talked briefly about that, but the one thing that I haven't mentioned, I think, in that list of what people really like, it's not even on radar screen, is analytics. I used to call the meeting in the past the black hole of event data management, the on-site meeting. You had computers before, you have computers after, but during the event, you were flying blind. You didn't have a means of knowing what's happening with that. This is not the way it is now. Mobile event apps, every touch is trackable in real time. And as the mobile event app companies develop this, I think that this is going to be a gold mine of information for show managers and event managers to use to do that. And also with beacon technology, soon every movement can be trackable. Let me give you some examples. A typical event, you have a whole range of areas of interest. You have speakers and attendees and products and exhibitors and content. And this information is kind of flowing back and forth with it, sometimes quite randomly. Now with mobile event apps, you can see, in this case, you can see exactly who is online, what times of the day they did it, how many interactions did they have with the mobile event app, how many active users with that. But more importantly, you can see who the top speakers are. and the ones that they liked, where the most social media buzz, where they downloaded the most course notes for, their whole range of things. You can find out what the most popular topics are. This is extremely valuable information in real time. You can find out who the influencers are. It may be a speaker, it may be an association manager, it may be a blogger. But for an event manager to know who those influencers are, who those connectors are, and feed them information can be really helpful information to broadcast your message out to a larger audience. You can get real-time feedback with polling and surveys in real time, oftentimes in time to make a correction if things are not going as well as you'd hoped with that. And then I'd mentioned already heat maps with that. So the question is, with the Internet of Things and this mobile technology and all these sensors out there, we have this whole new array of sensors coming in. How can we manage that? And fortunately, there's news out there, and in many cases, there are tools out there, in many cases, some cases free for that. And one of them is Watson Analytics. Watson, the supercomputer with natural voice recognition capability that won the Jeopardy challenge, the same one that's being used by doctors now quite extensively now, is now made a freemium version available to anyone. And in fact, it's called Google Watson Analytics. I'll play the video and come back with that.
And we just want to break that wide open and change the game by allowing every user in every business to have incredibly powerful analytics at their fingertips. And we think that's going to become absolutely essential. We make it very easy for them to upload their data or to access enterprise data securely. And then we guide them through a very sophisticated statistical analysis and then visualization, but without them having to understand the nuances of writing predictive scripts or the nuances of statistics. We guide them to a very powerful answer through an incredibly easy-to-use tool.
And here's what the deal is. Watson has a free version of this, and you can upload a spreadsheet that's 50 columns wide and 100,000 rows deep. When you talk about big data, if you're a multinational corporation, this is a drop in a bucket. That's if you're talking about a huge one. But for events and trade shows, you could do a lot with 50 columns, 100,000 rows of data that you upload and use a supercomputer to see the correlations, to be able to ask natural questions and get graphs and charts back that explains what's happening in real time. This is really cool technologies out there that helps manage the big data that comes out of the Internet of Things and mobile technology with that. There are other technologies out there. One of the things, I do have a couple of closing slides, but I want to leave you with a few resources with that. This is a great time to take your mobile device out and take pictures of it if you're close enough with that. But the key one to remember here is the top one. It's course notes. All the links to the things I've shown here today, all the text slides, are available through the course notes with that. It's corbinball.com/assets/trends-ameref.pdf. And so if you just write that down, you can download this. If you're interested in going back and seeing where these things were and where C-Cray was or Watson Analytics and all different things, you can do that. But I want to point out a couple of other things as well. I have a favorites file that's updated twice a year. It has thousands of catalog bookmarks, more than 1,700 catalog bookmarks in 60 categories about how events and trade show and association managers can do their job better using technology. And so if you want to find out what the technology is out there, this is a great one. I also have an article database, hundreds of free articles that are available at corbinball.com/art. I have a Tech Talk newsletter that goes out to 11,000 people in 70 countries. It's short. It's only every other month. It doesn't clog your inbox. It's linked to new articles that I've written and new links I've found. There are some fun links with it as well. And so it's easy to unsubscribe. I will never spam you with it. I won't use that. But you might want to try that out. If you just want to give me your business card at the end and say I'd like the newsletter, I'd be happy to add you on with that. And my latest article on the top trends for meetings tech trends for 2016 is there as well. I will also like to ask you to feel free to connect with me, and I'm active in all the social channels. Friend me, follow me, linked with me. I'd love to have an extensive network in LinkedIn. I'd love to have you as part of that, so feel free to do that. The only thing, don't spam me. It's the quickest way to get unfriended, unfollowed, and unlinked to as you can, but I'd love to have you part of that. I have 2 closing slides. I see we have about 5 minutes or so before I close up on this, before we close on time. But I'd like to open up to any questions that you have with this, and then we'll close up with the 2 closing slides. Any questions that you may have out there? One of the ones that people oftentimes ask when I talk about beacon technology is, what about security and privacy issues with that? You know, that's a huge, some people are going to freak out about it. And so the one response that I give is, it's very important to fully disclose how you're going to use that data, give them the opportunity to opt out with that, and give them real value for the event with that. So that's one of the things with that. Any other questions before we close up? Yes.
Oh, thank you very much, Corbin. We as venues, we charge for internet services.
Yes.
And a lot of this technology has to have good internet access. The issue is, are we going to have to stop charging for internet, or what would be our income revenue after all this is available and everybody's going to be pushing for free internet?
I think the model is going to be a model very similar to charging for phones as you installed in there. You know, that's gone away because, eventually it's going to be, I think that everybody will be considering it as a utility like water or lights. It's going to be a base part of it. And many meeting planners are making their venue choices based on flexibility with that. Here's the way I think is a reasonable model for that. I think that you have basic throttled internet. My recommendation would be 1 megabyte per second capabilities. That's fast enough to tweet and answer email. It's not fast enough to download or upload HD video for that. But you give that out pretty much everywhere. And then if events are high users, a Salesforce.com comes in and they say, we want more, they're going to be willing to pay for more. They do a group buyout, they're going to pay for it. But you provide that basic level for free, and then people are willing to charge for higher and better quality service. There definitely is a cost. This stuff is expensive. But the trend, eventually, it's all going to go free. But I think that's a happy medium between now and then. One last question before we close up? Okay, well, oh yes, one more question here, yes. Oh yes, translate, okay. I have one here.
Listo. ¿Has utilizado o has visto el uso de etiquetas inteligentes de RFID o NFC para el control de activo fijo, pero sobre todo pequeño, pensando en sillas, pensando en incluso hasta manteles, porque he visto aplicaciones que cuando van a la lavandería entran y salen y automáticamente controlan? ¿Has visto la aplicación ya en la actualidad?
Smart labels, or RFID tags, are really an interesting interesting potential. The challenge with RFID, you have to have the readers out there to do that. And I think that this is a potential for beacon technology that could be even more efficient than an RFID tag. It's a little more expensive, but the capabilities to know exactly where it is and where it's moving and set up alerts when you cross a geofence, I think is more capable with a beacon technology than with our standard RFID. But I have seen that it's good technology. You just have to have the readers, and it's a binary. It's passed by this, and so that's one of the things with that. Okay, well, I will close up a few things. Speaking about wearable computing, when I grew up, the Dick Tracy two-way video wristwatch was the state of the art of coolness. Of course, back then, that was completely science fiction. I've spoken 3 times in Seoul, Korea in the last 3 years, and I actually saw this two-way video wristwatch in reality. This is a reality now. Of course, when FaceTime came out, that made it a reality in a much broader basis with it. We are living in such exciting times, and I hope that this program has given you some ideas about where things are going, how it's going to affect our lives, and hopefully some optimism about life in general as these technologies can assist with that. It's been a real pleasure to speak for AMEREF. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thanks for the opportunity to present.
Thank you very much. And please, our treasurer will give you the present.
Well,
it's our
thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
Closing speaker. Thank you very much.
Okay.